Hello, hello. I'm just making a quick video to explain how to set up building and packaging an executable Unreal project. Uh, Importantly, one of the big differences between Unreal and Unity is in Unity, the terminology is just build. You make a build, right? Unreal sort of differentiates between builds and packages. So building the project sort of gets it ready to be packaged into an executable. So first, what we're going to want to do is build. So this button will build all of the levels and run through them all and do that. So you can just click this button if you want. Sometimes there are issues associated with that. So if you're getting issues trying to do that, what you can do is you can just build the lighting instead first and then build everything. But either way, what you're going to want to do is come in here first and make sure that the lighting quality is set to what you want it to be. So right now I've just got it on preview. This sort of goes in order of like low quality to high quality, but fast speed to slow speed. So preview is really fast, but shit. Production is, very high quality, but very slow. So I think for this basic sort of tutorial gray box, it probably was going to take about 20 to 30 minutes for me to build the whole thing. So I've just got it set to preview. For most of the early alpha builds, we can use probably these lower ones, but obviously I think for like final milestone builds, we'll want to leave it on production and just let it build for a while. So you can either build the lighting and then build this, or you can just hit build here. I'm not going to because I already have, but it should run through and say building complete. It'll come up with a few errors to do with the light that's overlapping and some of the UVs on the plants, but that's fine. We can just ignore that for now. What you're going to want to do next is come up to edit project settings. We'll start in description. So this stuff you may have already set up for your project, and this isn't really, it doesn't really relate to actually building or packaging, but it is good to just set up in general. You can have a project thumbnail. I've just set it to this image here. The thumbnail needs to be 192 by 192. So on Perforce, I've put a image logo white small. That's a 192 by 192 version of this logo. So I've just added that to my project. You can add it to yours if you want, but you don't have to. This isn't important. This doesn't get included in the build. That we can add that later on. So I've added a description, a name, and a version. Again, these are sort of more just like information things, like they don't actually affect what the packaged project looks like. And I've just added Team Nova and copyright stuff, whatever. So we can go down to maps and modes. So if yours is set to this Planet 9 game mode as the default, this is fine. This works, so that's all good. You can scroll down to default maps. The first one here is the map that will automatically open when you launch the project. So you can make that your own test scene if you want. You can make it main v2, whatever. Doesn't really matter. However, game default map is important. So this is, as it says here, this is the map that is automatically loaded in a project if nothing else is specified. So we'll want to set this to the tutorial. So you can go in here and just find main v2, set that up. And I believe everything else is, just ignore that. Doesn't matter. Okay, so then we can move down to movies. So these are not super important right now, but later on, if we want to have, for instance, like a splash screen that plays, the way that we can do that in Unreal is we can make a splash screen like .mp4 in like DaVinci or something like that, and then we can attach it here, and this will make it play before the executable runs. For now, we leave that blank and move down to packaging. So when you open it, it'll be closed like this. So it'll look like this. You want to open this, drop down to show advanced, make sure that use pack file is on. It should be by default, but if it's not, then make sure it is. This other stuff we may tweak later on to optimize the builds, but right now it doesn't matter. We can leave it. We scroll down, leave all of this for now, it's all good, and come to here where we have list of maps to include in packaged builds. So what we want to do is put all of the maps that we want in the final executable. So right now we have 2 that we want because we want main v2, but at the end of main v2 it loads into another level called thanks for testing, and that's just how we have it set up for now. So if we want both of those to be in the build, then they both need to be listed in this array. So you hit the add element and you list these here. So I've already listed main v2, but I'll show you how to add thanks for testing. So you hit the dots here. Mine opened up to this random directory, so I don't know why, but you should go into content, maps, Planet 9 maps, and then find the one that you want. Make sure that you're adding the .umap and not the .uasset, because that's the build data. So we'll have thanks for testing .umap, and we'll add that here, and that's there. And scroll down. So now these settings here, these on your end can probably be left default if they look like this, but I'll quickly run through what they do just because in future we will change them. So build here, it basically determines whether or not it should run a build automatically when you're trying to package something. So if you want it to always do that, which is not really a bad choice, that's kind of smart, you can set it to always, or you can just leave it on if project has code and is running, and then it will build it if it needs to. Build configuration, for now we're going to leave it in development, but these are actually quite importantly different. Test, basically development has access to console commands and to like debug stuff that we can see in the game. Test has access to less of that, so it allows for some console commands, some debugging stuff, but it sort of restricts the access a bit more. And then shipping has no debug, no console commands, nothing like that. So for the moment, we'll leave it in development because that's more useful to us right now because it'll help us debug if we have to. For later builds, probably when we're giving stuff to like outside playtesters, we might want to change it to test or even shipping. And then for final milestone builds, we'll definitely want to have it at the shipping stage. But for now, leave it at development. Staging directory, this is probably empty by default. But what you can do is I've made a folder called packaging. So in Unreal Project packaging, I've set this as the staging directory. And this basically just means it'll automatically, like, when you go to package the project, it'll open this up by default. You don't have to do this if you don't want. You can put it wherever you want. Full rebuild is, I mean, it'll make it take a lot longer, but if you're having errors with stuff, sometimes this can be helpful. Again, for distribution, we would have this ticked if it was going to be in test and shipping mode. This is sort of the same setting as this. It's kind of redundant, but we'd have this ticked. But for now, leave it unticked, and include debug files is a good idea for us now. But again, yeah, untick it in later versions. So the next step is to go to supported platforms. Now, right now, because we can only really test on Windows, I would suggest unticking all of these and having it just on Windows, even though it probably would be able to run on at least Linux or whatever, but we'll just untick all of these for now and just have it on Windows 64. Later on, we can maybe play around with some of these other ones, but for now, just leave it at that. And then what you want to do is check target hardware. This should be set up to be desktop console maximum quality. If it's not, then set it to that. And then sort of the last thing that we're going to do in here is we're going to scroll down all the way to where it says platforms. And because we've set it up to just be built for Windows, just click on the Windows one. Most of this can be left, really. It's more of, a lot of this is more flavor. So for instance, if we wanted to have a splash screen, we could have that here. So by default, it'll just open this little thing while the executable is loading. But if maybe the artist wanted to make a little splash screen, we can just add that here. Importantly, it needs to be 600 by 200. So just take note of that if you're going to try and make an image for this. Also, this is where we can add the icons. So when you build the executable, the little, in the sort of file explorer, these little images, that's what this will be for the executable. So this needs to be 256 by 256, and it also needs to be a .ico format, not a PNG or a JPEG. So if you go into here, I believe, yeah, I've made an ICO version of just the normal white like logo, so you can get that from Perforce if you want. Add it here. I would suggest doing that. If you don't want to use this logo, we can make it like the dark one if we want. Either way, I think we should all have this to make sure the builds look nice. And yeah, we can make a game splash later on if we want. This stuff we might change later on, tweak some stuff, but for now we'll just leave it. And then that's pretty much everything that we're going to do in the project settings. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close this, and then up here where it says File, we open File, we go to Package Project. You'll see all of these have exclamation marks because we've stated that it's not supported for these versions. It's only supported for Windows 64. And then what you're going to want to do, click this. It'll ask you to check out stuff. Right now I can't check it out because this is checked out, but that's fine. I'll just make it writable. And then it will ask you where you want it to go. So because I set this packaging as the directory, it'll automatically open here. Just put it wherever you want it to go. When you package a project, it will put it inside this folder called Windows No Editor. So I'll show you what that looks like. So you click select folder, and then it will start to package and build. Once it's finished, go in here and then find where it's downloaded. So just give me a second. I'll go to it. In here. So Windows No Editor. So what your package will look like will be like this. So this is the application that you run to run the game, and then there's a bunch of supporting files with it. So what you'll do next is you'll rename this to follow along with like the naming procedure that we've outlined in the TDD. So it's planet9_v, and then the first number is the milestone. So for alpha, that's 1. For beta, that's 2. For gold release, that's 3. Then the second one is major changes that have been made. And then the third one is minor changes that have been made. So right now we're on 00. And then you want to do the date that it's been built. So in the format of day, month, like that. And then so you rename it, and that's your build. Now, what we also want to do is, obviously not everyone wants to do this, but once whoever has made like a sort of official build, then we want to upload it to Perforce. So you just grab this folder here. You can zip it up actually if you want. And then on Perforce we have a build versions folder. Whoopsies, close out of it. A build versions folder, and we just put it in like this. So this is the build that I've already made. It's up on Perforce, and then as we add them, we'll just increment numbers, and then we'll just have a long sort of line of all these folders. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much everything. Basically, if you want to distribute this executable, everything in here has to be packaged into the same folder. If you're missing like these files, this will not run. So you need to have all this zipped into a folder for it to actually run. But yeah, that's how to do it.